I don't think it's going to work. I think the aliens are going to return as soon as I open this book. Trying to see if there's anything that it will like. Hey, Beth. Hi, Patricia, Holly, Janet. I'm glad you're here, Beth, but so far I'm not having much luck with this. I got to this page and it quit, but when I was on this other pages, it was still flickering. I don't know what it is that's making it do that. Yes, I agree. You need to go watch the videos because this is not working out. But it's weird to me that the videos worked, and when I try to do it on here, it's not wanting to. Um, Here is a tag and this is a double pocket, and this is a tag I made in a journaling card. It doesn't like that either. It doesn't like that. Yeah, I think um we're just can't do it. Um, but I do have videos, and they're the it's hashtag OOOAKJJC, and I've got a playlist. I've got an entire playlist of 11 videos that where I show this book and all the things I've done in it one at a time. And the very last one is a flip through, and it didn't the camera did not do this on the flip through or on any of those. So I don't know what the issue is, but you'll just have to go there to see it. Um, and there's lots of stuff in here. So if you want to watch those videos, you can find out how I did all of that stuff. Um, I was trying to think if there was something else I wanted to do. And I didn't bring it out here. I was thinking I could go ahead and do some prepping some wool to spin, but I left the wool in the house. I'm going to run in and get it because I do want to do that. And if y'all want to sit and visit with me while I do it, that'll be great. I'll be right back. See how the camera acts with this. So far, no problem. Let me see if I can find my carding brushes. Oh. And I have a spindle, so we can do a little spinning while we're at it. This is some wool. I bought a fleece when I went to a wool festival several years ago. And so I dyed the fleece. And so now it's hard to spin like this. You have to kind of prep it. This is a lock. So the wool on the sheep was this long. It's very soft. And you can do it. Let's put that up there. You can flick it. I need my. Well, we're just going to do it here. I usually do it on a piece of leather, but what you're doing is just flicking the fibers so that they'll separate and they'll move. This end that I'm doing right now is the end that was cut, and that end doesn't want to. It was down, near the animals, so it doesn't want to. So there's. It ate Skittles. Yeah, well, this sheep was cream colored. I'm the one who changed it. So there's some wool right there that's fixed. Got all the tangles out. That's right. And it's so soft. It just feels good just to touch it. Not all wool is like that, but let's see. Let's find another good piece here. That's probably more than you want to tackle at once, but I think some of it's going to pull out. See, that those pieces weren't attached to this little bit. And then we're going to open this up down here. It's not wanting to open up. I washed it twice after I washed it once before I dyed it. And I could still tell there was a lot of lanolin left in it after that. So I washed it again. So it's a little more felted than it normally would be. And this, I need my flicker. It's got stronger tines than this dog brush does. Woo, this one's not. If I was doing it down on my lap, it would be easier too. Doing it up here on the table is a lot harder to do. You don't have the leverage. Okay, so there's a piece of the blue and a piece of the orange. Take the trash out. And now let's find some purple or pink. Ooh, let's do some of this. Okay. This time I'm doing the hard end first. But you can see, if it's that hard to pull a brush through, how hard it would be to spin if you didn't do this, because you can't get the fibers to to move past each other. So okay, so there's that. Get this off. What I'm doing right now is called carding. This is flicking. What I did here was flick it. I just flicked the locks open so they could be spun. And then and then I can card them by and mix the colors together if I want to. And I'll do some of that just so you can see on the brushes. So that was flicking and carding. Let me just take some of each one of these and we'll you just layer it on there like that. And this way you can mix colors. You don't have to mix colors. I'm just doing it for fun. And you can mix them a lot or just mix them a little. It's sticking to me. Okay, let's just do that. I think that's enough. So you can see how they're kind of laying like that. Now you could just roll that up and spin it just like that. And it would kind of make a I'm trying to a little bit of a variegated. What we're going to make will probably be more like a tweed. Now I have regular wool hand cards that you can do more wool at once than you can with these. Okay, so now I've got this, and I'm just going to pull it off. And it's mixed, kind of. See, but it didn't make mud. We didn't mix it so far that it made, yes, flicking and carding. That's right, Janet. And these are dog brushes, but the ones that are made for wool are called hand cards. That's what they're called. That's why it's called carding, because you use hand cards to do it. And then I think I have a video where I used a drum carder, and it's got the same kind of tines on it, and so you card bats on that, which are big pieces rather than like little rolegs like this would be. And then you just kind of roll this up, and you can roll it actually on the brushes if you want to, like that, and then it will spin. Get that out of the way. Kind of a tweedy yarn, and that by that I mean you'll have flecks of different colors. So if you spin it like that, then you have to, doing it up here on the table, I can't spin it the way I would if it was, if I was able to drop it. But if you spin, can you tell that that's kind of tweedy? I don't know how to, you can see the different colors in it. And I did a couple of spinning classes that are live streams. So, and one way to do it, the easiest way to do it is to just go here and it's kind of hard to show you. Okay. Now we want to take this and kind of wrap it around down here. I got it all tangled up there. I don't usually do it like this. It's hard to adapt. Okay. And then you put it back up here, and then you spin some more. And this is called parking and drafting. You spin it, and then you hold it still, and then you draft a little bit and let the twist go up in there. And then you spin it, and you hold it still and you draft a little more and let the spin go up in there. And then you roll it on. And this is your cop right down here. Go around there, spin and hold and draft. Let the twist go up. Spin, hold, and draft. And if I could let it spin, if I could let it just drop and spin, well, let me move the camera and see if I can do that and show you. Just a second. Let me wind this, spin this a little bit more and wind it on. Once I get quite a bit on the cop, you'll be able to see the tweediness even better. Draft, yes. The drafting is where you're pulling the fibers. Whoops. Where you're pulling the fibers out of this this bunch of fibers. You're just drafting out the amount of wool that you want to go into your yarn. If you want a fat yarn, you draft out more wool. If you want a thin yarn, you draft out less wool. And you have to kind of hold it there so that your spin doesn't go all up into all of this. This one actually was made for me by a friend, but I can tell you what she did with it because it's I've done something similar. Let me wrap this around here so I can stop it from spinning, and then we'll talk about it. She used a dowel rod for this, and then trimmed this off to a point. It doesn't need to be a sharp point, but it's easier to flick if you've got a point there. And then put a cup hook in this end of the dowel rod. And this is a toy wheel like you get from Hobby Lobby. And it's got the size of a hole that fits this dowel rod. And you just put it on there and glue it. And then she varnished it. And then she glued beads right in that part of the wheel. And that's how she decorated it. So let me see if I can move the camera enough that I can, well, or let me move my table some. Okay, what's in the way? Stuff is in the way. Okay, let's do this right here. Okay, let me move it back here because you don't want too much wound around there when you work. So you spin it, and while it's spinning, then you can draft. And it spins better the heavier it gets. So when you've got more yarn on here, it'll spin longer. And you can't, it's hard to see the spindle spinning and the drafting. After you get to a certain length, then you've got, this much yarn that needs to go on the spindle. So you unwrap it. You unwrap it from, where am I? Can't find my camera. There we go. You unwrap it from around the hook and wrap it onto your cop. So you can see how much more I was able to spin this way, and that right here it's thicker, so it didn't get as much twist in it. So I'm just going to untwist it a little bit and thin it out, and then I'll spin it to twist it back. And spindles that you buy will have a better balance, and they'll be a little heavier than this one, and so they'll spin longer than this one. But it was the one I had handy. Which just goes to show you can spin, on a $2 spindle just fine. um, I want to get enough on here that you can look at the cop and see the pretty colors, because you'll be able to see it better that way than you can just looking at the yarn. The cop, we're spinning it around the spindle there and storing it on the cop. That's just a place to store it, to hold the twist in it, until you can take it off and ply it and make it into yarn. This is a singles yarn, just like it is, and you can use this if you weave. A lot of people weave with just singles. You don't have to ply it to weave. If you want to crochet or something or knit with it, it's better to ply it. And a lot of people ply everything they spin. Woo! Okay, that was not good. Let's go back here. Okay, I don't know if you can see. There's what the yarn looks like right now. So you're getting a lot of different. Yes, this is, in fact, there are places where people still make the yarn that they weave their clothes and stuff out of, just like this. But most places now, it's spun in machines in a factory. But you can spin your own yarn. You can buy wool like this that's part of the fleece that came straight off the animal, or you can buy it that's already prepped. It's called roving or top. And those preparations you can you don't have to do any prep work, you just spin it. On Etsy or on eBay, you can buy all kinds of. Etsy has tons of people who dye the yarn, dye the wool and make it into roving or whatever. And then you can buy it directly from them, or they buy a top that's not dyed and they dye it themselves. And then you can, um, buy it from them because they did the dyeing part for you and the prep work, and all you have to do is spin it. So it just depends. Oops, sorry. It just depends on how much of the work you want to do yourself. I wanted to learn how to do it all, so because that's who I am. I like to learn it all. This started as a history project for my daughter, and we both loved it so much we just made it part of who we are. And you can see this yarn is not perfectly consistent. That's because there's little neps. See, I can pull that out, and then the yarn is much more consistent. So, hi Joyce, it's good to see you. Let's go ahead and do a little bit more, and then I'll wind it on, and I'll show you again what the yarn looks like. Can you see? And that's just a mix. It actually looks prettier. You can't see it as good in the camera. But that's a mix of all three of those colors. And it looks really pretty. You wouldn't necessarily think you wanted to put those three colors together, maybe. But it looks nice. And you just do that over and over and over. I'm glad y'all are letting me do this because I'm having fun. One of the things I'm hoping to get done during this time I'm taking off from making videos the next 2 or 3 weeks is to get my spinning wheel cleaned and oiled and put back together so I can spin on it some because I like spinning. I can get more yarn done on the spinning wheel faster. No, Janet, I'm not going to do a live next Monday night, and I won't be doing one. Well, I might do one on the 4th. I'm going to be out of town all weekend that weekend, and so I'm not sure if I'll have this done. If I don't have everything done by the 4th, then my next live will be on the 11th. So I'm not sure if I'll stream on the 4th or not, but next Monday I won't be streaming for sure. Um, I'm just taking off from doing any kind of video stuff for till I get this room under control. I'm far enough away from the camera now. I'm having a hard time seeing the. I have some other videos you could watch if you want to, Mina. If you'll just look in my playlist, I have a spinning playlist. There's not a whole lot in there, but there are a few. And one of them teaches you how to make a spindle. So if you're interested, you could do that. And if you're interested in learning how to do this and you want some wool to play with to start out, you want to make yourself a spindle and have some, I can send you some bits of different kinds of wools to play with before you spend a lot of money on some. So just email me if somebody out there would like to try this, and I might could even make you a spindle if you want me to. Just let me know if you're interested, and I'll do it cheaply. But it'd be cheaper than buying one and buying a bunch of fiber from a fiber store and then deciding you don't like it. If you want to do that, just email me. And my email's in the description box underneath this video. So under all my videos, actually. That little bit of fluff that I prepared is almost spun. After we do this, I'll put those other 3 pieces together and show you another way you could spin it. The leftovers that we didn't card together. See, that's all that's left of this. Oops. Dropped it again. Just a second. Let me. Okay. That happens. It's normal. So if you do it when you're learning to spin, don't fret. Sometimes it even comes apart, but it's not hard to add it back on. So when I start spinning the next little batch, I'll show you how to put it together and start it. I'm going to spin just a little bit more and get closer to the end of this before I add it on to the next batch. Ooh, there's a yucky piece. Okay. All right. Let's. Oops. I need to go further than that because that piece was really thin right there. So let me go ahead and spin a little bit more before I add it in. I thought I was going to add it in right there, but it'd be better if I go a little further. Okay. Okay, I'm just wrapping it like 5 or 6 times around. That's how much fluff I've got left from what we did earlier. Let me show you that's what it looks like now. So I've got this much left of what we carded. Let's see here. It's kind of got unstraightened. So we can put those together. Okay. So now I've just got this kind of fluff right here in my hand. So I can just spin from this too. I don't even have to card it together. Oh, question. Okay, let me see. So that single strand could be used for weaving, but more strands are needed to crochet or knit. You can crochet and knit with a singles yarn. It needs to be set, which means it needs to be washed and set, and kind of felted a little bit so it'll stay together. But mostly, most people use at least a 2-ply to knit or crochet. But you don't have to. You can knit and crochet with a singles yarn. It's just a lot harder. So most people do ply it in order to knit or crochet. But it's pretty easy to weave with it. It's harder to knit and crochet with it. Maybe that's the way I should have said it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this little bit of fluff and I'm just going to put it right in here and hold it right there. And then I'm just going to start again. I had it really close, so it's a little bit harder to... Okay, that did not join well. There we go. It's usually pretty easy to do, but this was being stubborn. Now, when you do it this way, you'll probably get pieces that are longer of one color instead of the tweedy look that we got from the other. And it'll look different when it's on the spindle too. After I've spun a little bit, you'll see what I mean. See, now we've got this long bit that's just pink. We had a little bit of a piece that was just blue, and now this is just pink. Oops. Now you can go back over here and grab some of that blue and pull it in. And then you're adding it in. So you got some blue and pink together. But you're doing that on purpose rather than it just being mixed up like it was before. Let me get a drink real quick. Sorry, I have to move over here to see. So far, Mina, I've always dyed mine before I spun it, but you can spin the yarn and then dye it. A lot of people do that. I just like having the colors to play with, and so I enjoy spinning it more when I've got when it's already dyed. But that's totally that's a personal decision. I don't know if you can tell it by looking at the yarn, but it's not as woolly when we're spinning it this way because the fibers are all lined up. And when we did it the other way, they were more mixed up. So this makes a smoother wool when you spin it from aligned fibers, and that's why a lot of people buy what is called top, T-O-P, top, to spin from, because it's lined up. And if you buy what's called roving, then it's or a bat. Both of those are the fibers are not aligned; they're going all different directions, and so um, your yarn won't be as smooth. So it kind of depends on what you want your end result to be, whether you do top or roving, or you can make your own preparation that's more like top or more like roving from your own wool if you want to. But I like the fiber prep part as much as I like the spinning and the weaving. So I like doing it myself. But I have spun things that I bought that other people prepared, and that was fun too. They were really pretty, and they were better at preparing because they do it all the time. So their prep was better than mine. So it made a smooth, really, nice, pretty smooth yarn. But um, a lot of the yarns that I've spun, um, I did the dyeing at least, but I didn't always prep them. Sometimes I bought the top or the. I haven't ever bought roving and dyed it. I've dyed top, but I haven't dyed roving. And when I use my drum carder and make bats, it's already dyed before I get to that point. I I think you would felt it if you tried to dye it after it was a bat. Let me wind this up and then I want to show you something. Oops. Her notch is not as deep as the ones I put on, so I'm not as used to it. Okay. Can you see how it's mostly pink now on top? Because I've been spinning mostly pink. Mostly pink's what I had. But here's my 3 pieces. So I'll be getting to some other colors in a minute. Um, and how big your yarn is depends on how many fibers you pull out of here. So you can pull just a few like that, just a few, and it makes a very thin yarn. Or you can pull more and it makes a thicker yarn. Can you see the difference? Um, right in there is where I switched. Well, let's do it here. Come on. From a thin yarn to a thicker yarn. And that was totally done by choosing to add more fiber in. Okay, just a second. Okay. Obviously, my floor needs to be cleaned too. When you do that, you need to kind of grab it up on your fingers to keep it taut so it doesn't make a tangled mess, because it will tangle up if you let it just go. Okay, I'm going to stop here and then I'm going to show you the thicker yarn. And I need to add some more spin because some of the spin came out of that as I was. And I can spin it, thick for a while if I want, and then I can take it back down by just pulling out um, less wool and make it thin again. spin that a little bit more. We're about to switch to a different color here in a second. Now, I could have been switching back and forth all the time through this if that's what I was concentrating on doing. But I wasn't concentrating on doing that. I was just showing you that you don't have to card it. You can just flick it and spin it. So the wool and a dog brush is all you really need to be able to spin. You don't have to have fancy equipment. And of course a little spindle. But you can make a spindle real cheap. How do you get nubby yarn? Roving. Yeah, roving is nubbier yarn. Now you can take top. If you buy top, if you can't find roving, all you can find is top, then you can take top and you can put it in your dog brushes and you can roll it up and make your own rolags is what they're called out of the top, and that makes it into something that's similar to roving, and so then it'll be nubbier. Going straight from the wool, like this, and minimal prep will give you the nubbiest yarn. So if you like nubby yarn, it's better to start from a fleece because it'll have little bits in it that make it nubbier. I like it all. Smooth, nubby. I like thick and thin yarn where it's really thick in some places and then it's thinner in some places. I like it all. There's one lady that I watched that I bought some of her DVDs where she teaches you to spin, and she says being a spinner and a weaver is all about fiber. It's about the love of touching the fiber. She said when you spin and you prep your own, you take fluff and you smooth it down and make it into something to spin, and then you spin it, and then you wash it and fluff it back up, and then you weave it into something smooth. Or she said it's all about just loving touching the stuff, and I think that's probably true. If you like touching, if you're a texture person and you like touching wool, touching fabrics and that kind of stuff, you'll probably enjoy this. Plus, it's just fun to transform it. Oh, Lisa. I need to just make that notch bigger because I'm used to doing it a certain way and it's coming loose because it's not staying in that notch. And you can do it without the notch at all if you're used to spinning that way, but I'm not used to spinning that way. I just need to wrap it around here a few more extra times, I think, to keep it. And if you rub your fingers up and rub the twist into the yarn instead of just letting go and letting it go in, you'll get a smoother yarn too, because you're kind of compressing it as the twist goes into the yarn. So there are lots of little hints on how how to make the yarn that you want. Okay, so you can see there it looks practically pink. We're fixing to get into the orange now. Oh, some blue got in there, so this may be more of a combination than the pink was. Spin it again a little bit. You want to make sure there's plenty of spin in it, because when you ply it, you ply it with another one that was spun the same direction, and you spin them both the opposite direction, and that's how you get them to hang on to each other and to ply together. So you need enough spin, you need enough twist in it that when some of the twist comes out, it'll still hold together. And the less fibers you have in there, the thinner your yarn, the more twist you need. Uh-oh. My spindle stopped spinning and I didn't realize it. Then the fiber came apart. Okay, you can see now where the orange is what we're spinning. And we're almost out of that, so we're going to go into the blue here in just a second. We're just pulling those fibers apart. That's the drafting. And then we're letting the twist get into them after we've pulled out the amount that we want. So this finger here keeps the twist from going up into what's up here. And you only open that one when you've got the twist held by your other finger from the other hand. Right there. Can you see that? That's where I'm joining where the blue becomes what I'm spinning. I kind of like it when the color changes back and forth. I like variegated yarn. I like to spin variegated yarn because I don't get bored that way. See, it changes colors on me and I don't get bored. Thank you, Janet. Janet is the link queen. We're about to spin up all that little bit of fiber that I did of each color that I flicked has now become yarn. All right, we're almost to the end of it here. You can see it's spinning longer and better now that I've got a little bit of weight on it. So don't give up if you made a spindle and you have a hard time spinning it at first. Just keep going. Just keep going. Okay. All right. There is the yarn that we made. Whew. Oh, now don't do that. Why is it doing this now? Maybe we need to stop. Okay, stop it. All right, weird. I wonder what's causing it too. It's driving me nuts. Now, doesn't that it just makes you happy? uh, okay. Good night, Cheryl. Thanks for coming. Yeah, now that I moved it, it's acting fine. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. Now, I did the pink part when I was putting it with this. The purple would look completely, you'd have completely different yarn if I used the purple part instead of the pink part. I don't know if it would look as good with it or not. It might look just as good, but it would definitely be different. And you can see in here, I've got some parts that are more orange and some parts that are more yellow. And in this one, we've got the lighter and the darker, the more blue and the more turquoise. So, and that just happens when you're dyeing it. Some of the wool takes more of the dye than the other part does. So you get this mix of colors, which I think is part of the fun of dyeing it yourself, is that you get that mix of colors. 3 shades of blue would be gorgeous. Yes, it would. And I always like to mix like dark blue and green and teal. I think that would make a pretty yarn, just those 3 colors together. Good night. Good night, Cheryl. Good night, Cheryl. um well, I think I'm probably, unless y'all want me to spin some more, I'm probably ought to say good night too, because I'm not really in the mood to do anything different right now. Gem colors. Yeah, they are. You could spin just like this, but that part where it was cut off felt a little bit, and it's a lot harder to spin. So it's better to at least flick this end if you're going to. Now, some people spin and they get some places like they just add in a lock like this. Just spin it in there and let it hang out. And there's better wool to do that with than this, but that's another thing you can do to make your yarn look artsy if you want to. No, these were not friendly aliens. Okay, I think we're just going to call it a night. Thank you all for coming, and I appreciate you sticking with me even through the alien attack. And like I said, if you're interested in playing with some wool and learning how to spin, watch some of my videos. And if you want to, contact me and I'll fix you a spindle and send you some wool. I'll do it cheaply. So you can practice. God bless you. Bye-bye, everyone.